Ricky, maybe at the point that we do the awards, you can go back and man the camera so you can follow the youngsters, and they'll be able to see that, we hope, on cable TV. We did have a public hearing scheduled for 6:15 as well as one for 6:30. I really don't think they will take very long, so we'll ask you to be patient just a little bit and while we wait for the rest of your teammates to show. And we've worked out space, I believe, by bringing a few more chairs in. Will that work? Oh, very good. So I'd like to begin with a pledge to our flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. It was good to have that nice, strong chorus with us on the pledge. We don't get that every night. We're going to have to invite this group back, I think, on Mondays to help us. First of all, I'd like to call to order the public hearing as advertised for local law number 3 of the year 2009, entitled "A Local Law Regulating the Control of Dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh and Revoking in their entirety." Local laws number 1 and 3 for local law number 3 for 1985, local law number 3 for 1992, and local law number 4 for 1992. I'd ask Mr. Collins, our clerk, to read the notice that was published.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at the Town Board, Town of Plattsburgh, on August the 3rd, 2009 at 6:15 p.m. at 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, 12901, regarding the adoption of local law number 3 of the Town of Plattsburgh for the year 2009 regarding regulating of controlling of the dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh and revoking in their entirety the following laws. Local law number 3 of 1985, local law number 3 of 1992, local law number 4 of 1992, as part of said public hearing.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask if anyone has any written comments they would like to submit. We will take those into the record. And if not, if anyone has any comments that they would like to make concerning local law number 3, we would invite you to do so, please stating your name and address. And coming to the microphone that's not there.
Doesn't matter. I'll learn along.
That's okay. We'll be fine.
Turn it on.
My name's Debbie Blake, and I live on Cumberland. First of all, there's also a local law number 1 for 1986 mentioned under section 2, which isn't under section 1. Should it also be under section 1?
I don't know what your question is.
It's section 2 of local law number 3 of the year 2009. It cites 4 local laws that you're rescinding.
Okay.
And in section 1, it only cites 3.
Yeah.
Should 4 be in
Yeah,
section 1?
now, let me take a look at that, and is that the only question you had?
No.
Okay, one to the others, and I'll
Okay.
take a look at that, maybe that's a typo.
The next question has to do on page 2 of local law number 3, let's see, section 5, letter B, and it says that a dog...
I ask you just give me a second to find that, please.
Okay.
What was the section again?
Section 5, page 2,
Okay.
letter B.
Yep.
It says that a dog cannot chase, attack, or otherwise harass any person, so on and so forth, in any place where such person may lawfully be. Where might that person lawfully be?
So walking down the road,
Okay.
Where they would have a right
or
to.
they have right to do it.
Okay. Does that include some private property other than their own?
No.
Want me to answer that?
Yeah, well, I don't, put it like this, you could, I believe, have a dog in your home,
Yes.
and say, hypothetically, if I broke into your home and your dog harassed me, I don't think it would be in violation of the law.
But could I be on somebody's private property? And they're,
If
with
you're,
my dog?
well, I think if you're,
Our dog control officers offer.
Basically, this law is basically for visible fences. Visible fences.
Yes.
Your dog has a visible fence on, it's running on your property.
Oh,
Okay.
invisible.
Yeah, invisible fence. It's running on your property. I'm walking down the sidewalk. Your dog is still on your land, right? And he's showing his teeth and barking at me. I'm scared of that dog. I have a stroller, okay? I have to cross the street to get away from your dog, okay? Even though it's on your property, okay? It's still making, I'm fearing for my safety, okay?
Exactly.
That's basically what that law is all about. So actually, your dog is harassing. I mean, even though it's on your property, it's still, I'm minding my business, I'm on the sidewalk, and I'm not doing anything, and your dog is still growling and barking.
Okay, because that wasn't really clear, because there's nothing about invisible fences, and in fact, a
No,
lot of people
no,
have
that's-
them
There's
now.
lots of stipulations like that. If your dog's in a chain and it's out to the sidewalk,
Yeah,
then it's
exactly.
the same thing, still being around.
Exactly. Okay, in letter E of the same section, it should. the
Which
last
letter was
word,
that again?
E, as in Edward. It should be owners because it's possessive, the last word. That's for Tom.
I've read a number of copies of these, I've never read it.
how is owner possessed?
Other than the owner's garbage, trash, whatever.
Not the owner garbage.
Owners.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Okay, on F, it says that your dog cannot kill a dog or a cat of another person when such animal is in any place where it may lawfully be. I'm assuming that means the dog or the cat of the other person, and I would like to know where a cat is unlawful in the town of Plattsburgh.
Well, I think that would be unlawful in the town of Plattsburgh if it were my pet in your house.
But so it would be in my house, not on my property.
I would say generally, I don't have a right to have my animals on your property. no.
Because I don't think there's any laws governing cats in the town of Plattsburgh.
There may not be a law governing cats in the town of Plattsburgh, I think you will find that there, you do get into the, let's say that a cat were to enter onto someone else's
In my
property
backyard.
after another, chasing another cat.
Sure.
Or whatever,
And my dog killed it.
and your dog killed it.
It would be fine.
Even though cats are not considered as part of the ag and markets law as far as controlling, et cetera, there are many cats that are extremely valuable, and therefore would be the owner's valuable property that would be destroyed.
But if it's in my yard, it would be
Under dangerous
okay.
dog action in ag markets,
Yeah,
the cat is considered in dangerous dog law, so.
it's
Horse,
considered a,
under a dangerous dog action, if a dog attacked a horse or a cow or a chicken, a cat is also associated with that too, so that's why you want to stop it.
so if the cat's in my backyard, my dog kills it, it's fine.
Yeah.
Okay,
Let's hope that
just
doesn't
want to
happen.
clear that up.
So that
I
doesn't
assumed it
happen.
would.
So it doesn't happen, you know what I mean?
Okay, well, my dog. Okay, so that brings us on down to H, which says, no dog shall be at large, that is, off the owner's premises, or allowed to run at large, which means be in a public place or private land without the owner's consent, within the town unless leashed and accompanied by the owner or a responsible person able to control the dog. Does that mean that you can take your dog on private property if
No.
it's on a leash?
Yeah.
Because that's what it sounds like.
Yeah, well, first of all, the general rule, you can't trespass on somebody's property.
Indeed.
Yeah. I don't think this law would ever be construed to indicate that.
Because that's kind of what it sounds like.
Okay.
Then, let's see. Oh, this is for Tom. We have the dog control officer observing a violation of this local law in his.
Which number?
Oh, I'm sorry, it's
So B,
page
page
3,
B, page 3.
B, page 3, section 6. We have the dog control officer observing a violation of this local law in his, and no or her, but everywhere else in the law it's or her, his or her.
Must be typo.
Oh, no, it's eco-friendly.
Okay, I told you that's for Tom. And, let's see, was there anything else? I think I talked to the dog control officer about the other things. What, on page 4, for example, I guess it's double I, what might be what is a normal fee associated with impoundment?
I will leave that for the dog.
It's
The
a
dog
whatever.
control
That's
officer.
medical reimbursement. If your dog is hit by a car, I pick him up, I bring him to the vet, you stabilize him, and then you go pick your dog up at Elmore's, you're responsible for medical reimbursement.
And that kind of language is used to avoid, if you put in a specific dollar amount, you're constantly having to amend.
Oh, indeed.
Amend your
I
law.
discussed this with Bernie today as far as medical, I know there's two problems about medical reimbursement. Basically, if I'll be the straight, I don't know who the owner is, I can't. The responsibility of the town is me to take the dog to the vet to stabilize the dog, okay? That's our responsibility, okay? And I think it's everybody's responsibility if it's hit by a car, we should take care of the dog, okay? And I'm gonna do that. I got paper in my hand, we're gonna do that, okay? Then we bring it to Elmore's and it's taken care of there. Now, if we find the owner, okay, and the owner comes pick the dog up and the owner doesn't wanna pay for the medical bills, well, we have a court here, we have a small claims court, and if they live in the town of Plattsburgh, we can adjust their taxes, you know what I mean? If they own the town $175 for medical fees for their dogs, if they don't wanna pay it, we can go that route. I mean, 99% of the time they pay it, every once in a while I fall under that, and either you gotta take them to court or adjust their taxes, that's up to you.
Could impoundment be at the vet?
I don't pound dogs with that.
Well, I mean, if it's a sick dog though, would you or not?
That'd be up to Bernie, I would talk to Bernie about it, you know what I mean? We discuss it with the vet, you know what I mean? The only time a dog would be brought to the vet would be if they're in a dangerous dog action, which is a state law. Now, if the judge orders the dog to be confined, and usually go to the owner and say, you need to have them confined to Elmore's at a vet, they're paying for it. People want the dogs at a pound, they want to do it at a vet.
Sure.
That's the only reason that you don't confine your do it at a dog.
And I guess the last thing I had was on page 5, section 12, penalties. It's a little confusing. It says, any person who violates this local law or knowingly permits the violation of this local law or any of the provisions thereof shall be deemed to have committed an offense under the local law, etc. Does that mean if someone sees somebody violating the local law?
No, if you had a child, somebody under your, excuse me, under your control,
Right.
and you allowed them to do something,
X,
yeah,
Y, or Z.
yeah. That's right.
Where it's really there is the person that says, well, it's not my dog, it's my daughter's dog, or it's my son's dog.
Yeah.
Okay, who let the
Because
dog?
that was, I was confused because it kind of sounds like if I see somebody doing something and I don't report it, then I could be punished.
We're not that broad in this case.
That's kind of what it sounds like though. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who would like to make comment concerning local law number 3?
I would like to make a statement if I could. Because I would happen to have been the author of several of those laws that are being repealed. All right, and most of those laws came into existence following my campaigning, and the place where it was most evident to me was in Champlain Park. And I'm looking at a bunch of youngsters who are here. We used to have a situation in Champlain Park where we would have easily 15 or 20 dogs running in packs, and people were scared to death about their children and the safety of their children. And that's really where the local law came. When we first passed the local law in the town, it was only passed in areas that had water or sewer districts because there's a certain population density where you have water and sewer districts. And we didn't have the law in effect in the more rural areas of the town. Within 3 years, we had the people from the rural areas of the town coming to the town with a petition asking us if we would extend the law townwide. And, you know, the law has worked very well. We have a very capable and a considerate dog control officer, and I think our law really has been a model for many of the towns in this area. I happen to have been in Cherubusco Sunday afternoon, and they are considering a dog control law in Cherubusco. And I said, ooh, times are a-changing.
Yes, they are. And, you know, thank you, Mark. And history is too often lost and always important, so we know how we got where we are. The other thing that's always been a great concern of mine, I spoke with Dave a little about that again today, is my background in public education, as you know, 33 years in the elementary schools. Too many times we see the adults' treatment toward pets and animals as the reflection of how humans are treated in that home, especially children. I'm really very pleased, given the very limited resources we have for a municipality the size of ours, but to have some strong laws in place, and that very, very unique, very few situations where becoming involved might enable us to prevent abuse toward a child as a result of what we discover. We've seen that in the last couple of years here, as you're very aware. So it really is a way to create a safer community for everyone, way beyond even the idea of what a dog might do to a person. What's so horrific that we see people doing to dogs, and then it translates to how they treat others in their homes. So that really is the big picture. And certainly the interpretation, it's very hard to write any law that's specific enough and yet generic enough to meet all needs in all situations. But I also commend Dave for getting us to this point. I think he's been a number of months where he said we really need to upgrade these laws to reflect the current needs, and that's why we're here.
Excuse me, could I ask that we ask Mr. Duquette to explain that we do have a leash law and a loop sleep law?
Let me move the agenda forward, though. We do have another hearing. We have all these youngsters, so I would really rather stick with that. Is there anyone else who'd like to make comment on local law number 3? Yes.
I'm sorry, I have a question. Kathy Swires, I live in Vintage Estates. I have, thank you, by the way, for helping me find my dog.
Oh, you're in the chocolate lab?
Yes, we did find her.
Okay, glad it worked out for you.
I know. My dogs have an invisible fence around our house, and they can't even get to the ditch. Now, if they're barking and people walking, that's harassment.
It's up to the person that's walking. I mean, if your dogs are just, I mean,
I mean, they're barking and wagging their tail
no,
at the
that's
same
different.
time.
If your dogs are and there's a fence there too.
It's just an invisible
Yeah,
fence.
if your dog's up there showing her teeth, you know, growling and showing her breast, that's different. I mean, that's up to the person who's walking. I mean, if I'm not there, I can't issue an appearance ticket or something.
So I could get in trouble.
You might, yeah.
So what about if somebody has a dog who is fenced in the backyard and you can see him from the road, but he's like growling and
Fence
really,
it.
he could jump over it, couldn't
Huh?
he? Could jump over it, couldn't he?
Yeah, they'd be at fault. I mean, it's like saying you have.
But would that be harassment too, because he's really
I mean,
scary?
dog at large and harassment, because the jumping the fence is loose now.
Okay, so what if he stays behind the fence, but he's just scary?
There's still, it'd be up to the judge. If you file a complaint, it goes to court, and the court will decide whether or not. I don't make decisions. You file a complaint, it goes to court, and the judge decides whether or not. And I'll take pictures of it, and I'll say there's a fence there. You know, if I take pictures, there's not a fence there, you know what I mean? So it's up to the judge. And I'm glad you had your dog back.
Oh, I know, I'm so happy too. Thank you very much, that's all I want to know.
Dave, a quick follow-up question on that. Would it be reasonable to say that if somebody called you up saying I was out walking and I'll use Vintage Estates and a dog came up the road and showing his teeth and barking at me, I want to file a complaint, would it be reasonable to assume that you might ask them if they talk to the owners of the dog first?
They say what I like to do. Judges like to see it too. If you have a problem with your neighbor, go talk to your neighbor first. Half these things is settled in, okay? So basically, I like to see you over and talk to your neighbor, okay? And then you talk to your neighbor, then you call me. I'm gonna go warn the person with either verbal, I'll talk to them. Usually by then, taken care of. Then after that, give it 4 or 5 days. Happens again, I give them a written warning. Written warning is actually this right here. They're numbered. tells you what happened, and you go to read in here, right? Copy goes to me, copy's kept for town to support, so if it escalates more, then write an appearance ticket or complaint is vital, I have this. So when we go to court, the judge says, well, did you talk to your neighbor? Yeah, I did. What happened then? Well, I called the dog control officer, and then he asked me, what did you do? Well, I went and talked to this person, and they said they would take care of it. Again, it happened again, so what did you then? Well, again, written warning, they signed the bottom of it, and they said that it wasn't happening again. And then it happened again. Now this is where we're at, we're in court, and now he's at it. Same thing with barking dogs. I can't be there for a barking dog, but if you keep a log of the barking dog, it sounds funny, but we got this dog barks on July 3rd from 10 a.m. to 2 a.m., right? So when you go to court, you show this log to the judge, listen, I have a log of this dog bark. I asked him to stop, here's a log, there's something, you have proof to show that dog is barking. And you know, you start small, and I like to see more people do that, they talk to their neighbors, you know what I mean? Sometimes they can be worked out.
Okay, is there anyone else who would like to make comment on local law number 3? If not, I would ask for a motion to adjourn this public hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Wood,
Second.
second by Mr. Mannix. And if we could have a roll call on that, please.
Bernie Bassett,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway, Gerard Renadette, Marty Manick,
Yes.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
We will be closed at 6:37. The next thing that we have on our agenda is a public hearing for local law number 4 that was scheduled to begin at 6:30. I'd like to postpone that so we can get to our youngsters. Is there anyone here wishing to make comment concerning local law number 4? Is there anyone here wishing to make comment? Mr. St. Germain, are you able to wait a few minutes?
Yeah, I'll wait.
Is there anyone else here wishing to make comment on local law number 4? Are you all able to wait a little bit also?
Okay.
Then we'll get the youngsters. Okay. So with that said, we will shift gears because we have to finish this before Harrigan's closes, I believe.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. We just finished our baseball softball season, and we have some of our players here that have demonstrated throughout the season a tremendous amount of commitment and dedication to their team and have been role models to other players. We have 4 individuals that are going to be receiving the Most Dedicated Player Award, and then we have something a little different tonight. We're going to be nominating a team. So I'd like to ask those coaches to come up, please, that have nominated a Most Dedicated Player that they nominated. And Carol, and the team. Sorry.
Could you just introduce yourself?
I'm sorry.
It's on TV and people won't know.
I'm
I
Janet
know everybody
Sosnicki.
here knows, but.
Is this on?
Yep.
Okay. I'm Janet Sosnicki, and I am the program coordinator for the town of Plattsburgh.
You want me to call my player?
Sure.
I'm Bob Christopherson. I coach the East Morrisonville Pee Wee boys team, and I nominated Christopher Falk. Christopher, come on up. Christopher is a great player to have on my team, always willing to help pick up the equipment, bring out the equipment, never begging me, can I always pitch, can I bat first, can I do this? He never said things like that. He's always a hard worker, and I really appreciated having him on my team, and looking forward to next year. Good job, Chris.
Hi, I'm Bob Fall. I'm the East Morrisonville Grasshopper boys baseball coach. And I selected Tyler Patry as my most dedicated player this year. Tyler has been a great addition to our team. He's played for my team the last 2 years. We've had a very successful season, and Tyler was a big part of that. The reason, though, I selected him was not the way that he played the game as much as his attitude about being a teammate, about being a good member of the team. One of the things that I love about Tyler was before every game or every practice, I'd ask him, how are you doing today? And everything was wonderful, outstanding, I'm glad to be here. And I think that attitude shows in the way that we play. And I'm very glad and proud and honored to be his coach.
Hi, I'm Carol Klein, and I was the coach for the Cumberland Head Pee Wee softball team. And when she asked me to pick a most dedicated player, I couldn't choose. All of my girls contributed so well, and we had 16 girls on our team, and for the most part, they all showed up and tried as hard as they could, and their parents also were dedicated parents too. They came and they brought their children, and they stayed and they watched the game. So I say all of my girls were the most dedicated players and the most valuable players. So come on up, girls. And I want you all to give a round of applause to your parents, because if it weren't for them, you wouldn't have made it to the games. All you girls give a round of applause to your parents. Okay, and we'll have the awards, we'll give these to you afterwards, so you can finish, okay? Thank you.
The next award, Colleen Flynn, she couldn't make it here tonight. But Jillian Martin has also demonstrated that she is showing tremendous amount of commitment and dedication. Come on up, Jillian. So congratulations and keep up the good work. I will also be speaking on the behalf of Sean Stone, the North Plattsburgh Pee Wee coach. He has nominated Nathan Zucker. Come on up, Nathan. Congratulations. Give me a handshake. Yeah. There we go. And of course, these programs would not be possible if we, didn't have the coaches and the support of them, all of their time and effort, taking time to teach the kids the fundamentals of the game, teaching them how to be good sports and dedicated players. So we like to thank them by giving them T-shirts. Carol Klein, Cumberland Head. For 2 or more seasons for the town of Plattsburgh, and they've all put in their time and effort to, making our sports programs what they are. Again, without them and their hard work, we wouldn't be where we are. So thank you. And thank you for coming out tonight, and I hope all of you get really large ice creams.
You might want to know, just in case if anybody wants to watch it on TV, it's only on Mondays. So next week, Monday, if you wanted to watch it on TV, that's when it would probably be on. It's on 4 times a day, and I can't give you the exact times. Anybody can?
They announce it though on their rolling
Yeah, they announce it on
program.
the channel. Channel, what?
16.
16. Well, that's on cable, but you can find it, and just so you know, it's next Monday.
Thank you all. Enjoy your
Yes,
evening.
great job. Great job.
Bring you home.
Program here, but I appreciate everyone waiting a little bit so we can get the youngsters through their evening, and as I mentioned, out for their ice cream. It's a real tradition with some sports in the town of Plattsburgh. Next, I'd like to call this public hearing to order at 6:46 concerning local law number 4, and I'll just defer right to you, Rick, to read the notice so we don't duplicate.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the town board, Town of Plattsburgh, on August 3rd, 2009, at 6:46 p.m. at 151 Banker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, 12901, regarding the adoption of local law number 4 of the Town of Plattsburgh for the year 2009 regarding the sheltering of dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh, as said part of public hearing.
Thank you. And again, I would ask if there is anyone who has any written comments for the record. And if not, we would invite you to make comment. Please state your name and address, as this is recorded again for the record to be helpful. We might want to bring that back up, Dave, just to be sure the tape picks it up clearly. We're going to hear it okay. We want to make sure the tape picks it up. Thank you. Oh, the mic, you got it.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave. Okay. Whoever would like
Here's
to...
your blocking Gerard.
No,
No, you have to move it back a little bit beyond where you are. On this way, because it blocks Gerard's chairs. That's the whole stand. There you go.
I forgive you.
Take care of Gerard.
Anyone like to address the board?
Well, I guess I would.
Okay.
All right. Do I have to go up here, I guess?
That would be good to make
All right.
sure the tape gets your comments.
No, I'm quite serious. I'm an avid animal lover. And I don't have that little clip, the paper clip that would state what it was about exactly. And so what is the definition of sheltering?
Supposed to state your name.
Oh, well, my name is Diane Jolette. I live on Newell Avenue, Town of Plattsburgh. Good enough? My concern is what the criteria is for shelter.
Dave, I'm going to let you reflect on that one.
Have you had an opportunity to read the law?
Well, what was in the paper, but...
Oh, no, you're okay.
No, I wish I, no.
Basically, there's a lot of, it's eight through, there's actually a big thing on what's considered a shelter, okay? The shelter has to be structurally sound, has to be insulated, has to be appropriate to local climate conditions. Obviously, live in North Country, so the structures are different than down in Florida, you know what I mean, than up here. Has to be constructed so the dog has adequate movement, freedom. I want to make sure we did this law that, you know, that I don't want a dog chained with a 2-foot chain. That was a big thing with me. I've been doing this a long time. I've seen a lot of issues with dogs, cruelty as far as that. Basically, everything that was taken out of the law through ag markets was put in this law. As far as allow the dog so he doesn't sit in his own waste. Make sure it's proper coverage, proper weight coverage, proper insulation, stuff like that. And basically what it is that these are going to be guidelines. I've been doing this for 12 years. I've seen a lot of serious dog cases as far as, you know, dog house and that. The problem I have is I have to call state police or sheriff's department, which they help out 110%. But I want to do it without them. I want to go there and write a ticket or a current ticket or have somebody in the town write a complaint without going to them. They're more willing to help me out. And that's how we're going that route is. And then I want to take care of myself. I want to have some bite. And I want us to be take it serious. I mean, and this is lots to do. It's to help out the dogs in the town.
So, you know, I guess given the criteria, if the doghouse is appropriate and it's insulated appropriately,
Yeah.
and food is brought out to the dog is on a rope or a leash or something that is long enough or according to the law, then that is considered appropriate shelter
And I know you're getting that. You don't
for
want dogs.
24 hours a day.
You don't want dogs to be outside at all.
No.
Yeah. And that's something
Not
that.
24 hours a day,
Yeah.
no.
That's something that, even in the state law, there's, you know what I mean? This law is basically criteria after ag markets law. In ag markets law, they said that you don't be left outside as long as it has appropriate shelter, appropriate insulation, And do I want dogs left outside 24 hours? My opinion, no. Under the law, though, I know that I can't force that.
Or there's nothing that can be done. No,
Um,
I guess I've been advocating and trying to, I did meet with people who did have their dog chained, I did all I could to visit the dog, and they agreed, but I guess it's a way of thinking that I can't identify with, seeing that they're such social animals.
Yeah, I mean,
I
agree with
really
you.
think it's cruel.
I agree with you 110%.
Well, I guess I had felt I had to voice my concern because I feel strongly about it.
I don't think there's any legal prohibition
Right.
about, that we couldn't pass a law that said that the dog's out 24 hours. And Dave is very good, and I think he's got very good judgment. And so I think this will, we can see how this works. This is the first time we've ever had it, and we'll see how much, how much good it does. And if Dave comes and he says, there are people who are violating it, and this is a loophole, and this is how they're getting around it, and dogs are being mistreated, if the board is agreeable, we can pass another local law that would correct that.
But I feel they're mistreated just by that, not being petted, not being part of the family, not being...
Well, it's hard to, I agree with you,
But I guess we
it
could
is
argue
hard to
about
pass a law to require people to pet their dogs, and I agree with you that you shouldn't have a dog if you don't want to care for it, but the micromanagement of it, really becomes almost impossible to pass. But I think this is a step in the right direction. As I said, Dave has been very vigorous in his enforcement, and I think this will certainly correct most of the problems. Will a dog ever, an animal ever be mistreated in this town? Yes, I think that's the case, but I think we're
But I think
pretty good.
24/7 is cruel. I think it's cruel. I think they're vulnerable to other animals coming and attacking them. I think they're, bites, mosquitoes. I just think it's...
But I think if that were to happen, then it does give some resource because that shelter is not appropriately sheltering the animal. If the owner, and I again, on a personal level, we have an invisible fence. We talked about that. The dog's in the house. In the North Country, a lot of people don't, but another way that can empower in a situation where it might not be appropriate is the whole medical piece too. If the dog is truly just abandoned now, maybe lacking the owner accepting them as a part of the family and bringing them in the home and giving them that kind of love and attention and affection. But if they're abandoning them to the elements, if they're abandoning them to other animals and they're chained, unable to get away, if they're not providing their medical needs, then he has recourse.
These are guidelines now. It's a law, but they're also guidelines. I follow these laws, they're also guidelines to follow. If I think there's circumstances that are different, that have to go a little further and above, If the dog's left outside and he has a wound, I've dealt with this for, and flies, that's a medical thing, That means that the dog either has to be inside or has to have something over his face, keep the flies off. That happens sometimes too, So this law also states in medical reasons too, If there's any medical reasons, now obviously if the animals are coming and biting a dog at night, which can happen, and it's causing medical, causing medical problems with the dog, needs to be addressed, He needs to put a fence around it, whatever needs to be addressed, and that's something that we'll look at.
I still think it shouldn't be allowed, but thank you just the same.
Thank you for sharing that.
Would you interpret that under page 2, it's section 4, the last paragraph, dogs that are left outside? Would you interpret how you would look at that?
What's with this,
Page 2, second paragraph, it's actually section 4, the last paragraph, just before section 5, dogs that are left outside.
Dogs outside.
He said dogs are left outside that are outdoors and in inclement weather without ready access or the ability to enter a house, apartment building, office building, or other permanent structure. I think what this lady's saying is that there could be a dog house, the dog could go in it, but the fact that maybe the dog has no communication with a human being is cruel in and of itself.
Well, I just want your interpretation of what you consider that to be.
And this is different. I think in Tom's particular case, his question addresses what do we perceive under this law the need to be in regards to shelters.
You're talking about the last two words, permanent structure?
Yeah.
Okay. I just said these are guidelines, okay? Now, if I go to somebody's house and they have one of those dog carriers, and they're dragging with a chain around the lawn, right, the backyard, that's not a proper structure, okay? What's a permanent structure? Well, I can take a trailer and move it, you know, I mean, it's whatever you want, I mean, I'm not sure. These are guidelines, I have to go there and take a look at, and how I feel about, you know, every call I get, you know what I mean? If I get a call and I go out there and I believe that there's nothing, it's not a problem, it's not a problem, you know what I mean? If I go out there and I think it's a problem, it needs to be addressed, you know what I mean? But if somebody does a complaint against somebody, I can't, it goes to court, it's, again, like I said, it's going to be up to the judge. You know what I mean?
So permanent structure isn't necessarily one of those things. In fact, it could be a regular doghouse that is movable, but is in one place that isn't moved at the time.
Right. You know, like I said, if
It's got to be big enough that they can stand up in it, they can move around in it. You know, those were some of the elements that were described before.
And insulated.
And insulated.
a dog carrier is not,
It's not insulated.
it's not insulated, it's not, you know what I mean? And plus a dog carrier, unless you got it bolted to something, or whatever, a chain or something, it's still can move, you know what I mean? Like if a dog, chained to a dog carrier is dragging it across the lawn, that's not a proper house, you know what I mean?
I had a dog that was insulated, and it didn't move all the time. The dog was on a line for 3 years, so don't tell me that you can't have it without having it moving around. That's
No.
not true.
You had a dog house that was a movable dog house?
Yeah.
Well,
And we
All
had a
dog
line
houses
that was,
are- all dog
we had a
houses
line
are
that was 120 feet long.
yeah, but all
The
dog
dog
houses
could go
are
back and
movable.
forth on.
All dog has to move unless you dig a foundation and put a cement pad on it, right?
Well, the dog didn't move it. So I want to know what the interpretation is. As far as I'm concerned, this is restrictive. Very restrictive, saying it has to be a house, apartment building, office building, or something.
I'm going to make comment here. Let me roll back. Section 4 is simply a list of definitions. All that last paragraph does is define what is a dog left outside, because that phrase is used throughout the law. And I'll use my situation. Our dog is a house dog. There is no doghouse. I live in this doghouse. Okay? So in order to, if you were to come to our home and say, I want to take a look at, your outdoor facilities for your dog, I don't have one. But because my dog does not meet this definition, therefore it is not defined as a dog left outside, and we don't have the problem with outside protection. He's an inside dog. And the other thing I think that happens, and it's the same as with local law number 3, this is a set of guidelines that are specific enough to be able to be implemented, broad enough to be subject to the situation and interpretation. And as Dave, and I would expect anyone else in Dave's position would do, and I really like his approach of, have you talked to your neighbor? And in all these situations, I think if you were my neighbor, we would probably get along just fine. But the other neighbor who maybe has a hunting dog out in his dog house that, pretty much stays there, there may be an issue. You may need to communicate, number one. Number two, we might communicate with the dog control officer who would then come out and work with the family. Now, to the point and to the extent that there's actual abuse and summons have to be issued, and the dog has to be taken into protection to be removed from that family. I just don't think, there are so many what-ifs, that we could really go on forever. It creates a set of guidelines. I think the intent is what's important. And the intent is that animals are not abused. And those animals that are subject to abuse are relieved from that one way or another.
Could I offer?
I agree with that, but then the idea of what is abuse is obviously different with different people. So
It'll be the eye of
I
the
want to
beholder.
know how it's going to be interpreted.
It'll be the eye of the beholder and interpreted by the judge based on the facts.
Could I offer a possible solution, Tom? If we were to, and I'll just throw this out there for discussion, if we were to strike permanent structure from that paragraph and substitute it with down below section 5C, mentions adequate housing, and adequate housing is defined underneath section C as having waterproof roof, being structurally sound insulation appropriate to climatic conditions, allow for the dog to posture itself. that, if we substituted
Well, I could go along with that, but I'm
with
just going to go
adequate
along with
housing,
permanent structure.
there is a definition for adequate housing, and I think it would take away any ambiguity as to whether or not you're going to be cited if you don't have access for your dog to come in and out of the house.
I think that's a pretty good suggestion.
Dave, do you think that that would make it, I mean, alleviate some question as to, am I going to get cited because I don't have access to my dog to come in and out of the house?
I think it's wise. Yeah, I do. Good thought.
If I could offer a comment, I think well, first I'll start, I think there's a typo in the resolution. It refers under now therefore be it resolved to local law number 3, and I think it should say local law number 4. Okay. But I think what's key in local law number 4 is prior to this, we're working on laws that, that regulate the actions of dogs. What this law is intended to do is to speak to the human's responsibility for the care and the maintenance of their pets. And I think what Dave said before is very true. This is a beginning. This is a start. We will look at this law periodically. There will be changes made to this law. Okay?
I guess sorry I haven't prepared it in a written form because I could have my ideas more concise, and I apologize for that because I have worked with people in the town and they didn't mean any harm. One was both cases were an elderly lady, and she, she didn't mean any harm, but the dog's neck was raw. He was neglected. He loved people. He would go crazy. I just without going into a lot of detail, I developed a relationship with her because of the situation, and she respected me. I would bring him a bone, and I developed a wonderful rapport with the dog, but his neck was raw. His food would be put out, and flies and bugs would get on it, and his whole lifestyle, he would try to catch other animals going by, and he would sometimes wrench his neck with the chain. But the lady was doing the only thing she could do, and so she didn't mind my intervention. And I also know of others in town, and I feel that it's not a life for a dog with a raw neck and
Not everybody that doesn't have a doghouse is guilty. There's a lot of families, single mothers, families that can't afford doghouses. That's where I step in. We have assets in the community where people, I was telling Bernie, I had a guy who wants to volunteer to build a couple doghouses I keep here. I bought a doghouse for a family myself, me and my wife. I have people volunteer give doghouses, give money toward doghouses. I'm not going to go to a lady with 2 kids, a single mother, who just bought a dog for the kids. I'm not going to say, well, take care of your dog away, I'm going to charge you with cruelty because you don't have a dog. I'm not going to do that. I think that's not right. I'm going to work with her. We're going to get her a doghouse. We're going to get it insulated. We're going to put hay, and we're going to do. We're going to take care of that situation. That's what we do here. I'm not going to give somebody an appearance ticket like that. You know what I mean? We're going to work with her if she's trying, and that's what we're going to do. I've never done that. I never will do that. Okay. This is for people who can afford doghouses or don't really care about the dogs. And this is where we're headed. This is going to hit those people. But as far as people that can't afford doghouses, or or like I said, the single mother, the kids, whatever that. Last year we did that. We're gonna help them out, and that's what it's all about.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what
I
that's.
know there's a lot of good. No, BOCES, they were making doghouses.
We're having a couple meetings right now with that gentleman in
Oh,
town.
I know that there's a lot of advocates, but I just happen to be one of them, and had a voice in my opinion.
That's good.
We had a discussion, I guess, about amending the law, page 2, section 4, the definition under dogs that are left outside, changing permanent structure to adequate housing. Any other discussion on that, Dave? Does
Perfect.
that probably gives a little more definition to it, a little more leeway? Okay, everyone's in favor of that. We'll just go ahead and amend that. And if we move forward with this later this evening, we'll want to make sure and amend that in the law that is passed as well.
Noted that as well.
I'm counting on that. Any other individuals here who would like to make comment on local law number 4? Yes, please come forward.
Yeah, my name is Muriel Berto. I live at 214 Dennis Lane in the town of Plattsburgh. I really don't have much to add, except I agree with Diane. Some localities, states, and cities have passed ordinances controlling the amount of time that dogs can be left out. I know it's not that way here, but I'm glad to see that there's emphasis on shelter. I ran into that last winter. I talked to Mr. Duquette. And by the way, I still have the doghouse.
Oh.
I stopped and I knocked on his door, and just by look, he looked like a linebacker, but he was very amenable to, and I told him, I said, that doghouse is way too tiny, the dog can't get in it. And I offered him the doghouse, I had it in the back of my car, and he said, no, I'm going to bring him in. So before I left, I said, no, you're going to bring him in tonight? And he said, yes, I'm going to bring him in. So I drove by again later and the dog was in. Since then, he hasn't kept that dog out as long as he used to. And even when it's raining, I guess he knows that somebody's watching him or something. But
Maybe he's discovering a new friend, too.
Maybe. It's a lovely dog. I mean, the dog wanted me to play, took my arm and was trying to tug me up. But anyway, I've noticed that when it's cold or the weather's inclement, that dog is inside. So maybe it's true that a lot of people just don't think about it. And they don't know that other people care. So I just wanted to add my 2 cents. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Would anyone else like to address the board or make comment on local law number 4?
John, St. Germain, 2391 Route 3, Katyville, New York. The only question I have, one is, I wondered why it just wasn't incorporated into just one local law. Why do we have 2?
Well, we had 2. I did it as 1 to begin with, and then I was writing it just the way it was going back and forth became too complex, so I just broke it into 2.
Oh,
Just structurally, there's no,
I
no
was
deep
just looking at the
philosophical.
fact that you have to run a double ad in the paper and
Yeah,
plus more money
that-
and plus we got all
that's
this
true, but
paperwork.
that's true. But sometimes when you clarity is pretty important as well. And I think that in this here we're cleaning it up a little bit and we're getting rid of the old laws. And I think it's worthy of a separate law. Not, like I said, if I originally I was going to have 1, get rid of all the others and get everything in. But laws are supposed to have just one purpose. And I think you probably could, a local law is supposed to have one purpose. You're not supposed to have a local law with 2 purposes. I think probably legally you could combine these and get away with it. And it wasn't that drove it, but I do think that the fact that it's separate would be, in terms of enforcement and so forth, I think would be more helpful.
And the other thing is on the local law 3, the owner, the party purchasing the license. Often people that purchase a license aren't the owners of the dog.
That could be, that could be. But with any local law, they're not like mathematical formulas, and that's why we have judges, and sometimes they'll look at it and say, as Dave has pointed out, if he sees someone who can't afford a doghouse, he's not going to rush, write him a citation, and fine the poor person. They're not going to do that. And not every law, like I said, can encompass every situation there is. I think if anybody does purchase usually the person purchasing a license presumably would have some connection to the dog.
And the other thing in the law, I find nothing for hunting dogs, rabbit dogs, retrievers, anything along that line where these dogs, they run at large and to hunt, especially rabbit dogs. And I know there's 2 or 3 in the town that do hunt.
Under what law?
Under this law here, they would be actually in violation if you have a rabbit dog. And I know years ago I hunted with rabbit dogs, and when you got out in the country and they were running rabbits.
So you're talking about the first law we did?
Yeah.
Yeah, they,
That'd be something, that'd be something that, I'd have to, the guidelines get, you know what I mean? The guys, I'm not gonna go up to a rabbit derby of it. And then, actually, this town, there's not a lot of, I mean,
well, they hunt like over by the dump. I know that,
Right.
Muggsy Favreau occasionally hunts, rabbits over there and stuff like
private
that.
land though. That's private land. If they leave that land, they go on a town land, it's different, but.
Yeah.
The only thing I really ran into with beagles is that, I did a report on it, is they're being stolen. I mean,
But I mean, how hard it would be to put, and I don't know if the agricultural market law has an exemption in there for retrievers or.
there is no exemption.
I believe there's something, I believe there's one clause in it that says that under the jurisdiction of someone. In other words, a dog doesn't have to necessarily be on a leash if it's under the jurisdiction and obeys the commands of someone, then it's okay. I believe that was in local law number 3.
Basically with that, John, hunting dogs is that, if you're hunting, your dog gets loose, and I'm taking a walk in the woods and it bites me,
You're liable.
it's your fault.
Yeah, well.
Whether you're hunting or not, you know what I mean, that's something that, you know, it's like saying, it's like letting your 14-year-old drive your car. You know what I mean? If you take a chance on getting an accident, it's your fault, you know what I mean?
So what you're basically saying, if a guy's out with rabbit dogs hunting rabbits, and invariably, now and then they get on a fox or something, they don't come back and you don't catch them. But usually they'll go back to the spot where you brought them into the woods and
put a piece of
what have you. But, I mean, the dog is running loose and you could invariably be charged for.
If he calls me out and says, listen, Dave, I was out hunting, I do it to everybody. If you call me up and say, listen, my dog got loose, or this happened, they call me, I'm not going to charge you. Could you let me know about it? Now, if the guy calls me up and says, listen, I was out hunting, one of my beagles got loose. And you know what to do? I used to tell him, well, take your sweater off, put it down in your garage, or put it down in your front lawn, or put it down in the morning, and lay on top of your sweater. That's what the dogs do. But the fact is, like I said, I'm going to work with them. You know, I'm not going to say, hey, you know, you're hunting your dog loose. I will work with them.
No, I just wondered if there was nothing.
There's nothing in ag markets. The only ag market would be the deer thing.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I mean, I would never, I mean, that's something that.
Well, I knew people that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right there. Yeah.
Anyone else that would like to make comment on local law number 4? If not, I'd ask for a motion to close this hearing. Mr. Remnant, second Ms. Brockway. And roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette? Martin Manick? Yes. Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Hearing stands closed at 7:15 p.m.
What's that, the honey dog? Yeah.
Okay. Ricky will call the meeting August 3rd, 2009 of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order at 7:15. Could you get a roll call, please?
Bernie Bassett?
Here.
Thomas Wood?
Here.
Sheila Brockway?
Here.
Gerard Renadette?
Here.
Martin Manick?
Here.
James Coffey?
Here.
Resolution 09247.
Resolved that the minutes of July 20th, 2009 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
A motion?
So moved.
Ms. Brockway, second Mr. Mannix. Any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette? Martin Manick? Yes. Bernie Bassett?
Yes, it's also the portion in our evening where we ask if anyone would like to address the board. To do so, trying to limit their comments to 5 minutes, stating their name and address. And Dave, thank you for coming this evening, by the way, and for pushing this through. Thank you. And if not, we will move on to Resolution 248.
Resolved that the abstract of audit of claims number AA-09 in the amount of $1,442,699.14 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said abstract.
So motion?
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Ms. Brockway, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 249.
Whereas Dan Cornine from Mountain Lake Electrical Incorporated has submitted a periodic estimate for...
249.
249.
Oh, 240.
You just
Okay.
Jumped
Right
right
on.
move the agenda.
Yeah. Sorry.
All right.
Whereas Resolution 09207 appointing Phil Corral as CEO, CFO created a vacancy in the LCD Incorporated Board. And whereas the town is desirous to fill the vacancy created by Mr. Corral's resignation. Now therefore be resolved that Elaine Woods of 137 Jean LaFay Road, Katyville, New York, 12918, be appointed as board member to the LDC Incorporated for the term to expire December 31st, 2010. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to Mrs. Sears Mack, LCD Board President, and Mr. Corral, CEO, CFO.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
Yes, I just want to be sure that we have Ms. Wood's name correct. I don't know if her name is Ilani or Elaine.
I think it should be Elaine. We will correct that, okay?
On the top, it says Elaine.
Yeah.
Elaine.
Okay.
Just a little dyslexia. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, as we discussed at our work session, this will enable her to participate in a training that's in September, coming up in September, Paris training. Now, resolution 09250.
Whereas Dan Cornine from Mountain Lake Electrical Incorporated has submitted a periodic estimate for payment number 4, covering the period from June 27, 2009 to July 25, 2009, in the amount of $3,277.50, less 5% retained. And whereas Ronald LaBerge, civil engineer, consulting engineer for the town of Plattsburgh, has reviewed said payment number 3 dated July 28, 2009, and has acknowledged his approval for said payment request. Now therefore it is resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to make payment number 4 in the net amount of $3,277.50 to Mountain Lake Electrical, 102 Trade Road, Plattsburgh, New York. And it is further resolved that said payment is to be made payable from the Champlain Park Pump Station account, and that a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Yes, this one only deals with number 4, and it was in fact reviewed by LaBerge.
Yes, as well as Mr. Comfort.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, because the previous one said that he only reviewed number 3.
No, in the draft, I don't even know how that got in there in that second whereas, but I think it was leading to this as a subsequent payment. And the previous had been reviewed with this being the balance. I don't know. It was confusing, which is why they got removed.
Bernie, I have a little bit of a problem with the reference to the amount being retained. 5% of the amount they're citing would amount to $163.88.
I'm not sure.
I'm sure that the retainage figure is an accumulated
The
figure.
retainage is on the total project amount, which was I believe the gross amount is 144,128.73, and 5% of that was 7,000. So we're keeping that 5% as an amount back until,
But the language is not,
it's not 5% of
I don't want
the
you, I don't want
3,000.
I don't want an audit issue coming up.
So less 5% retained
No,
of
you're-
total.
I was looking at the same thing, Marty, because, again, 5% of the 3,000. The request for here, if you look at, I know, we had it at a work session, it shows the total cost of work performed to date, 144,128.73. The line below that shows the 5% amount of that, which would be retainage of 7,206, and the net amount, 136,922.29. Less the amount of previous payments of 133,644.79. That's where they come up with the 3,277.50. So I think, for the sake of clarity, we probably want to strike the part of the comment in the first paragraph that says in the amount of 3,277.50.
We could strike the less 5% retained, because
Okay.
that is confusing.
Because it isn't.
That's irrelevant to the
It is.
resolution.
Yeah, and it isn't actually, that's an amount after the 5% has been retained.
Exactly.
Correct.
It's not that amount less 5%.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I understand the intent of that, but I agree totally. This is a resolution to pay
So we're just going
the
to
bill.
I have no problem with striking the
We're
less
going to
5%
authorize
retained.
3,200.
put a period at the end of the amount of money, 3,277.50?
Semicolon. Yeah. Just make a note of that. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Abstain.
Gerard Renadette,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Bernie Vac.
Yes. Resolution 251.
Whereas Luck Brothers Incorporated has submitted request number 2 for payment on work done from September 5th, 2009 to July 16th, 2009 for Moffett Road water. And whereas LaBerge Group has reviewed and verified said work, now therefore be resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to make payment number 2 for the voucher dated July 17, 2009, in the amount of $89,535.42 as periodic estimate number 2 payment to Luck Brothers Incorporated. And it is further resolved that said payment is to be made payable to Luck Brothers Incorporated, 73 Trade Road, Plattsburgh, New York, 12901, from the Moffett Road Water Project. And a copy of this resolution be given to the budget officer.
A motion,
So moved.
Mr. Manick, second. Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
This is the model that they should be using. You'll notice in this, there's no reference to the 5% retainage. It's in the calculation. You see it, but it's not referenced.
I'd like to make a comment, Bernie. This has no bearing on Luck Brothers or Vortec, but I talked with Dave Comfort today, and it's really discouraging to find out that they were halfway across 87 to bringing this water to the people of Moffett Road, something that was promised a long time ago. Something this board has time and time again revisited. We've borrowed more money. We've tried to make this project viable, and we've hit another stone wall. And I'm not talking the boring part of stone wall. We've hit another stone wall with DOT as far as they've stopped us. We're dead in the water. There's no light at the end of the tunnel as far as getting this done. I think it's a disappointment that 2 miles down the road, they're doing work, they bored underneath 87, and you're keeping us from doing the exact same thing. It speaks volumes as to the kind of, and I'm going on a limb here, probably going to tick off some engineer somewhere, but it speaks volumes as to what area of 87 we try to do work on. And it's a shame that we can't get water to the people. It's so close yet so far away. One more section of 87 to go through, and we'd be there. And
Everything's done on both sides except for that.
Pardon?
Some of the preliminary work is they've bored underneath the northbound lane, and they need to finish going into the southbound lane. The southbound lane, they discovered that some of the preliminary testing as far as soil conditions didn't end up being what they encountered. When you start boring, you're going that huge distance, nobody knows what's under the ground until you get there. In a very general way, what we were given permit to do under the northbound lane is what needs to be done under the southbound lane, through the rock. But now they've decided that, we don't want you to do that anymore, that here's a better way to do it, and it's just an absolutely ridiculous cost, and we feel there's plenty of justification for continuing the way we began. It's a matter of allowing us to continue going under the southbound the way we did, and was approved to go under the northbound. Now, and I believe, I'll just share with anyone who might be listening, Mr. Comfort and I did visit Senator Little's office very recently and shared the concern with her, because we really feel adamant that the town has already, as you said, Gerard, added more money to the bill. We've made adjustments, as you do when you begin a project, and you have to sometimes, but that's it. The senator was very understanding, very supportive, and we're following up with that this week. I spoke with some of the residents today as well, and basically shared the same information, and I believe they will be calling the senator's office as well, saying we need help. There might be some alternatives, and certainly we're open to doing the right thing. We kept DOT informed all the way through on this process, and I've worked very well with them about what they're asking now for a larger bore with a sleeve and pouring cement in it to fill any cracks that might be there, et cetera, just doesn't seem to be reasonable or necessary.
I think as Gerard pointed out, it's not a standard they hold themselves to. And this is what really irritates me. They're holding municipalities to a standard that they are unwilling to hold themselves to.
Very well said.
I had the problem when they were putting the new overpass on River Street, and they came to our back door with a plan for a change to our driveway. And I said to the guy, if I went to you with that plan, you wouldn't approve it. It violates your own law. Well, that was terrible. I wasn't just going to sign the thing for them. They consistently do not hold themselves to a standard that they then demand other contractors and municipalities.
Well, and there are different engineers and different projects that have their design and style and spin. The reality is the municipality has limitations. We certainly understand safety. The irony is they have already approved, and we've already drilled under the northbound lanes. We just want to do the same process under the southbound lanes.
Yep.
And we have a number of constituents that need water. It isn't that they want water, they need water.
Bernie, if we do it, then there's a problem down the road because of the fact that, of how we bored through the rock. We'll end up bearing the consequences.
No matter what method to install this is used. Absolutely.
So I mean, this is.
So delays in the permitting process have already caused us to go back and revisit the project and increase the amount of loan. It's my understanding that Vortec may be packing up to move away because they can't leave their equipment on site. If they have to come back again, we're looking at an additional setup cost and the possibility of having to borrow more money. And I think it's unfair that this is being put on the people of the district, and DOT is showing no concern at all. And again, it goes back to the work that they're doing on the Town Miller Road.
Yep.
The town, I think, had every right to insist that they close that and do that work at nighttime so that there wouldn't be the negative impact on Route 3 and 374. But we weren't even asked. We weren't given the opportunity. And one of the things that I heard when the comment was made was, well, it would cost us more money. Why should we care? Because DOT obviously doesn't care that it's costing the taxpayers of the town of Plattsburgh more money to bring water to our citizens.
They push us, on the one hand, from the state to share services and consolidate, and do the best we can to save money, and then they waste it all from the Department of Transportation by not following what they told us we could do in the first place.
We've already pushed our target date back as it is.
I wish Dave,
A year almost.
I wish Mr. Heath were here tonight.
Well, we will give you some updates as the week goes on. As I said, I did have a call from the senator's office the end of last week that I haven't been able to respond to yet, so I'm going to be optimistic. One of the requirements that they had, the new requirements, was that we also ran a camera through the entire distance. Now, remember, we aren't just going to a road. You start off the interstate, you go under one set of 2 lanes north, you have the median, go under another, to camera the whole thing. And they appear to have eased off on that a little bit. So something is happening. Again, I'm going to remain optimistic, but we are extremely unhappy with the situation.
Don't we have a camera?
We do have a camera that we use within the water wastewater department. I don't think it has the ability to do that distance, and we don't need to do that. We don't need to do that. There's a special gel they put through there. It's all part of a huge added process. So anyway, this is, I guess works in process. It's going to get done, and this will get resolved. But thank you for updating, Gerard. It has stopped. I was out there today, as you were, with the demolition of the North Country Shopping Center, and we did see the equipment is still there, which is good. But you're right; they're not going to sit around waiting to see what happens.
Are they sure that it's all rock underneath the sound thing?
You don't know until you drill it. It looks
They
that
can't
way.
tell by the,
It looks that way.
the whole thing is wrong.
Yeah. Okay, any other comments? Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Phil Brockway,
Yes.
Greg Renadette,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 252.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board finds and determines that in order to protect and safeguard the town, its residents and their property with respect to certain agreements, negotiations, and/or contracts pertaining to sewer districts, that the town board may require specialized legal services. And whereas Jack Tabner Esquire and Tabner, Ryan, and Kearney of 18 Corporate Ward Boulevard, Albany, New York, 12211, has in the past provided similar services to assist the town regarding sewer districts. And whereas the firm of Tabner, Ryan, Kearney has offered to provide this said service as described in professional service agreement for legal services, which is attached to this resolution. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh Town Board now desires to retain the law firm of Tabner, Ryan, and Kearney to perform services related to possible creation of a sewer district on Cumberland Head. Now therefore be resolved that after the review of the agreement by the town attorney, the supervisor is authorized to enter into agreement with the law firm of Tabner, Ryan, and Kearney, located at 18 Corporate Woods Boulevard, Albany, New York, 12211.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
This, there's nothing in here about the retainer. This is simply hourly rates.
There's
Is
no
that
maximum, no
correct?
minimum.
No maximum, minimum, but I'm hopeful that this, we won't see an incurrence of fees unless the district is actually formulated to make sure.
Excellent.
Well, we will with the preliminary stuff, but that.
They will, I believe, they'll bill you by the hour for the work they do.
I understand that, but I'm just wondering how much are we going to need them prior to the creation of the district?
I don't think a lot. I think that if it, I don't think a lot, and obviously if Bernie may need to call him, or I may need to call him, and it'll be strictly on an hourly basis, but on these types of deals, they just don't say we'll do it for $5,000.
I
Because
understand.
things may come up. So if it looks like the voters don't want the district, obviously it'll be a very low fee. If it looks like they want the district, obviously it's going to be more work for everyone. You know, more cost.
They were consulted with preparing of resolutions due process. I would anticipate that Mr. Tabner would come up for the public hearing as he's done before to be available. I placed, I have to say, many times calls to him where I'll have a question, and it's kind of a, oh, by the way, John, what do you think? And we talk a few minutes, and I say thank you, and he says, have a good day, and I never see a bill either. He's very, very good about that. So, you know, I give him that vote of confidence. But he's also, and as we've worked with him, most recently with the White Plains Commons, he's very familiar with the community and the process. He has such spontaneous knowledge and understanding of the process, and it's very succinct. It's, you know, sequential, one step after the other. And so I think we're in very good hands with him, fiscally as well as a resource.
In addition, his rates are less than the next one.
We weren't going to say too much right away, Tom.
Oh, no, that's right.
It's hard to pick and choose sometimes. But anyway, that's my thought on that one. But it is interesting. There's no retainer, but I think you know, there's a nice long history with Mr. Tabner, and he works with us that way. Any other comments, thoughts? Roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Yes.
Gerard Benedek,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution 253.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has become involved in RPTL, Article 7 proceeding with Lowe's Home Center Incorporated. And whereas Beekman Town Central School District and Clinton County have an interest in said proceedings concerning challenges to assessment made on the property that may affect each governing body. And whereas it has become necessary to retain special counsel to prepare a commercial assessment and to defend the current level of valuation of the property by the town of Plattsburgh and work toward a settlement. And whereas the Clinton County Real Property Tax Committee and the Ways and Means Committee have discussed this matter and approved of the sharing of said expense with the town of Plattsburgh and the Beekman Town Central School District. Therefore, it be resolved that after review of the agreement by town attorney, the town board hereby authorizes the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Hitchcock and Barclay LLP, who represent the town of Plattsburgh in this matter. It is further resolved that the supervisor authorize the budget officer to make an initial payment for services to Hitchcock and Barclay LLP with reimbursement to the town from the county in the amount of 26% of the total cost and the school district in the amount of 48% of the total cost, leaving the town's balance not to exceed 26% of the total cost to represent the town of Plattsburgh versus Lowe's Home Center Incorporated.
Have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
I'll second.
Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
This is one where we're going to be paying the bills, if there are any, and then we get reimbursed from the other two entities.
Correct.
Same process as we used with Pyramid, and we billed the school district and the county, and they were very, very good about turning around their payments.
And I believe this is the same one, it's just for work done by the hour.
Yeah. You know, Jerry mentioned a retainer. The purpose of retainer basically is to make sure that if you work, you don't get paid, you have a retainer, so they're not worried about the town.
We won't stiff them.
That's the theory anyways.
Any other discussion or questions? If not, we'll have a roll call, please.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Yes.
Gerard Benedek,
Yes.
Mark Manick,
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 254.
Whereas a resolution was duly adopted by the town of Plattsburgh for the public hearing to be held at said town of Plattsburgh on August 3rd, 2009 at 6:15 p.m. to hear all interested parties on proposed local law entitled "A Local Law Regulating the Control of Dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh and Revoking in its entirety the following local laws. Local law number 3 of 1985, local law number 3 of 1992, and local law number 4 of 1992. And whereas said public hearing was duly advertised in the Plattsburgh Press-Republican, the official newspaper of the town, on the 24th day of July 2009, and whereas said public hearing was duly held on August the 3rd at 6:30 p.m. at the Town of Plattsburgh Town Hall.
6:15.
6:15, okay, sorry.
And the one up above is 6:15.
6:15 at the Town of Plattsburgh Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York. And all parties in attendance were permitted the opportunity to speak on behalf of the opposition of said proposed local law, or any part thereof. And whereas the Town of Plattsburgh, after due deliberation, finds it is in the best interest of said Town of Plattsburgh to adopt said local law. Now therefore be resolved that the Town of Plattsburgh hereby adopts local law number 3 of 2009 entitled, a local law regarding the control of dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh, and revoking in its entirety the following local laws. Local law number 3 of 1985, local law number 3 of 1992, and local law number 4 of 1992. A copy of said local laws attached to and here a part hereto to be further it resolved that the town clerk be, and he is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of said meeting of the local law book of the Town of Plattsburgh, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of State in the state of New York.
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Wood, second. Ms. Brockway, any discussion?
I think we're probably going to incorporate Ms. Brockway's change in paragraph.
Blake.
Pardon me?
Ms. Blake's.
Trying to think Ms. Brockway.
Yes, you did.
Ms. Blake's suggested change. She had said in the second paragraph, we did have the local laws we're revoking, and for some reason it was local law number 1 from 1986, which we're not revoking. And she also had a comment on, I believe it was number 2E, the possessive on owners, which I think we can incorporate, and I think that's it.
Just to make sure that my notes are accurate, Jim, we are striking on page 1 the second local law that was referenced, local law number 1 for 1986.
Correct.
And there's no insertion.
No, it was just 3 local laws we're revoking, and
We have that fourth one in there.
we had that fourth one that didn't vote. Yep.
Very good.
Yep. And the other one is on
The
E.
possessive.
Yes, okay. Yep.
And then it's, of course, on 3B, his or her.
Well, so, a lot of times, I guess you can, it's very common to just do one or the other.
Aye.
Yeah.
Well, we need to, is this a amendment or not? It really makes no difference to me.
Are these considered amendments, or are they just considered, to be just
It's a
corrections we're
It's a
making?
correct-
Oh, yeah, these
It's
are
not a law,
corrections,
yeah, it's not an amendment,
yeah,
right, it's a
yeah.
correction.
Yeah, this is just a correction.
change.
If we are making a dramatic change to the law, we'd have to have another public.
Well, we haven't passed this, so we can't amend it really until we pass it.
Well, we're just doing the.
Making changes. And I'm back on that B. Is that remaining as is, his or his or her?
Okay.
I suggest we make it his or her.
Okay.
You're welcome, Sheila.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Sheila Brockway,
Yes.
Gerard Bernadette.
Yes.
Mark Mannix.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes. Resolution 09-255. This one is 630 is amended in that third paragraph.
Actually, 46.
646.
Oh, that's right, we were late, 646.
Whereas the resolution was adopted by the Town of Plattsburgh for a public hearing to be held in said Town of Plattsburgh on August 3rd, 2009 at 6:46 p.m. to hear all interested parties on proposed local law entitled Local Law Regulating the Shelter of Dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh. And whereas said notice of public hearing was duly advertised in the Plattsburgh Press-Republican, the official newspaper of said town, on the 24th day of July 2009. And whereas a public hearing was duly held on August the 3rd, 2009 at 6:46 p.m. in the Town Hall, Town of Plattsburgh, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York. And all parties in attendance were permitted the opportunity to speak on behalf or in the opposition to said proposed local law or any part thereof. And now, whereas the Town of Plattsburgh, after due deliberation, finds it is in its best interest of said Town of Plattsburgh to adopt said local law. Now therefore be resolved that the Town of Plattsburgh hereby adopts local law number 3.
Four.
For 2009, entitled "A Local Law Regulating the Sheltering of Dogs in the Town of Plattsburgh." A copy of said local laws attached hereto and made part thereof, and it be further resolved that the town clerk be, and he is hereby directed to enter into the local law in the minutes of said meeting and in the local law book for the Town of Plattsburgh, and to give a due notice of the adopted local law to said Secretary of State of the State of New York.
Do a motion? So moved. Mr. Renadet, second. Ms. Brockway. Any discussion?
We'll just probably adopt Mr. Renadet's change on page 2, second paragraph, last 2 words from permanent structure to adequate housing. The Renadet amendment.
It's not really an amendment, it's a correction. Correction. So we don't have to go through that.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Martin Manick?
Yes.
Bernie Bassett?
Yes. That brings me to my last page. I would like to note that the South Plattsburgh Volunteer Fire Department has a special dedication and open house for their new firehouses, and that was announced today to be held at Station 1 on Route 22 at 1 p.m. With a ceremony at the Route 9 station at 3 p.m. on Sunday, I believe.
Sunday what?
Sunday, August 9, this Sunday. So I want to make sure everyone was aware of that. That was in the newspaper today, I think.
What time?
That was in the newspaper yesterday.
1 and 3.
1 and 3.
1 and 3. Route 22 at 1, and then the Route 9 station at 3. Ceremony and dedication. Now, if anyone has any other...
In regards to the 2 certified mail return receipt requested that were sent out about Hilltop and Buckley's.
an extension was given today.
Oh,
Excuse me, a 15-day extension has been given to the closure of the trailer park.
Okay, so it's not the 3rd.
It's not the 3rd, and I think there are some new issues that are surfacing, but I don't have the details on that yet, but when I do, I'll get them to you. But there has been an extension of 15 days. I believe that was done by the Board of Health. That happened late today.
Okay, because this was off of Clinton County.
Correct. Correct.
All right, I just wanted to check on that in case it was something that we needed to know about.
Yep. I'm glad you reminded me of that, actually, except that came to my ears late today, and I just didn't get that out to you. Anything else? If not, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Ms. Brockway, second.
Second.
Mr. Renadet, any discussion on that? Roll call.
Thomas Wood?
Yes.
Sheila Brockway?
Yes.
Gerard Renadette?
Yes.
Martin Manick? Yes. Bernie Bassett?
Yes, we'll stand adjourned at 7:50 p.m. and everyone drive safely.
Is this,
This is
Well, I'm skimming through this. What I think this is opportunity to respond. Phil has